All right. They're all coming in here. I feel like it's beam me in. So we have the NASA team that is here. And I just want to, Susan, I wasn't sure if you were going to do the introductions or if we just want the team to do their introductions.
Hey, Kelly, let me turn my camera on for just a minute.
Uh-oh. We lost our leader. our captain just disappeared for a moment, so she will be back. Meanwhile, we'll just do a brief introduction here. I'm going to start with Jessica. I'm going to start with you because you're a repeat. You've been here, and so welcome.
Yes, hi everybody. I am Jessica Sain. I am from NASA's Office of STEM Engagement, the In-Space Cooperative Agreement, and I am super excited to be with you all today and to talk about some cool stuff happening in Next Gen STEM.
Great. And Carrie Olsen, let's just pass it over to you to say hello.
Hi, I'm, as you said, Carrie Olsen. I'm the project manager for Next Gen STEM, and all of these folks here are part of my team, and we'll be telling you all about our project today.
Great. Dr. Elicia Fullwood.
Hi, thank you. My name is Elicia Fullwood, Dr. Fullwood, or most people know me as Dynae. I'm happy to be here, happy to talk to you guys about what we're doing in this space related to Moon under Next Gen STEM. Thank you for the opportunity.
Great, and turning it over to Gina Blystone.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Gina Blystone here from NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, and I am here to talk about the Aeronaut-X mission-focused activity under Next Gen STEM.
Well, great. Well, Susan, I'm going to pass it over to you and the team. We have the all-star team here, so it's all up to you.
Thanks, Kelly. And apologies, I dropped out right in the middle of introducing myself earlier. So hi, my name is Susan Poland. I work in NASA's Office of STEM Engagement at NASA headquarters. I also serve as the executive secretary of an organization called FC STEM, which supports STEM education efforts across the federal government. I'm actually primarily participating today in a supporting role for this panel. I am actually going to turn this over to the fantastic team that you see here today. And Carrie, take it away. I'm going to pull up the slides for you.
Hello, everybody. I think we want to tell you something a little bit today about the Office of STEM Engagement at NASA, and then our part of it, which is the Next Gen STEM project, and just kind of tell you what's up with us, what's new, what we've got going on. If you go to the next chart, Susan. So this is the NASA vision and mission for STEM engagement. And that includes Office of STEM Engagement and also a lot of our mission directorates who run the missions and projects and programs of the agency. And together, our vision is to immerse students in our work and to enhance STEM literacy, inspire the next generation to explore. And simply put, our mission is we engage students in NASA's mission. We have a number of strategic goals around creating unique opportunities for a diverse set of students to contribute to our work, to build a diverse future workforce, and to attract students to STEM and spark their interests and provide connections that keep them interested through their academic journey. Next chart, please. And so in the Office of STEM Engagement, we have 4 projects that are funded directly from Congress. The Space Grant, which a lot of people know about, which has consortia in the states and territories of the United States. And EPSCoR tend to be, they are mostly collegiate projects, as is MUREP, which is serving our minority serving institutions in the United States. And that leaves Next Gen STEM, which is my project, and the folks you see here on this panel with me are some of my activity leads in the project. And we are a K12, so a pre-college focused project. And you can go to the next chart, I'll say a little bit more about it. So this is sort of my elevator pitch slide that I like to use, and just to tell somebody really quickly what is Next Gen STEM. And we say that we reach students where they are using NASA's mission, content, people, and facilities. As I said before, we work in the K12 space. We reach kids in school, after school, through informal education institutions like museums and science centers, and more this last year and a half at home or wherever they happen to be, and often virtually. What is it that we deliver? A portfolio of products, educational products, experiences, challenges, competitions, and competitive awards for the informal education institution world. And we span the K12 education levels, and we have a primary goal of trying to reduce barriers to entry and to reach underserved and underrepresented populations. And with that quick intro into our project, I want to involve the team to tell you a little bit more about what we've got going on. So Next Gen STEM as a project was stood up a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, more or less as a pilot and as a way to more closely couple ourselves with the work of the agency and kind of use that inspiration factor of the ISS and, you know, what we've got going on with the moon program, Artemis, and the commercial crew program of launching Americans from American soil again, which we accomplished last year. All of these wonderful things that are going on in the agency, and to bring that connection in a real way. Well, as we've lived into Next Gen STEM, we decided this past year that as we go into the next fiscal year, 2022, that we want to organize ourselves a little more broadly. So if you go to the next slide. So our new focus areas, they were before STEM on Station, which focused on ISS, the International Space Station, commercial crew, which is how we get to the International Space Station now, Moon to Mars, and Aeronautics. So we are pivoting a little bit from that, and now we are organizing ourselves around things that missions that are in Earth orbit or that are Earth focused. Things that are specifically about the moon, with of course the Artemis program being front and center there. Once again, our Aeronautics, the first A in NASA, as I'm sure Gina will be telling you more about, which is a very important part of NASA. And then a totally new area, solar system and beyond, where we'll be looking at how NASA explores deeper into the solar system beyond the Earth-Moon system. So with that said, let's kick it off and let's talk to Dr. Jessica Sain about what's going on with Earth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. Susan, if we can go ahead and start at the Earth slide. So hi, everybody. As Carrie mentioned, we are currently undergoing kind of an absorption of a couple of different things to create this new mission-driven focus area titled Earth. So like Carrie said, we're going to be including all contents of STEM on Station, which is the activity that I've been working on, and Commercial Crew, which is another one near and dear to my heart, as well as some Earth science resources and then climate change resources. So just to give you a little bit of background on some of the things that we've been doing with STEM on Station that will continue as we move into this Earth mission-driven focus area. I'm going to kind of overview the broad scope of things that we have. Feel free to type any questions that you have in the discussion panel, and I'll try to get to them while the others are presenting. But the first thing that I wanted to highlight, and Carrie was very involved in this one, was our Celebrating Station Science web series. This was a monthly web sort of toolkit release of resources to highlight the research conducted by humans aboard the space station over the past 20 plus years. So last November 2nd, we celebrated over 20 years of continuous human presence aboard the International Space Station, which blows a lot of people's minds. Kids that are, 20 or younger, they've had somebody in space their entire life. And so we wanted to celebrate that with the Celebrating Station Science series, which is still live on our website. We wrapped it up in June. as students transition to the end of the school year, but there's a ton of great resources across K12 education that you can explore at that link. We also have our commercial crew efforts that Carrie mentioned. This was to celebrate the return of human spaceflight to U.S. soil. We hadn't launched humans from U.S. soil since 2011 when the space shuttle retired. And so last May when we celebrated that, even though it was right at the beginning of quarantine and we weren't able to take educators to the Space Coast as we had planned, we still were able to celebrate with a digital toolkit of resources and some virtual engagement opportunities for folks to celebrate that launch and then to celebrate the launches that have happened since and the launches moving forward, and are hoping to resume in-person events for the Office of STEM Engagement in the future. And then we also have in-flight education downlinks. So if you've ever tuned into NASA TV, in-flight education downlinks are the live Q&A sessions, or they're streamed live right now, Q&A sessions with educational organizations and astronauts that are currently orbiting 250 miles above the Earth's surface on the International Space Station. So currently the way we have that structured is that the questions are pre-recorded in a COVID-safe environment where students are not, getting too close to one another in an auditorium like they used to be. But the questions are pre-recorded, and then the astronauts are answering them live on NASA TV. We actually had one today, and then we have one again tomorrow. So if you haven't heard of those, please tune in. And every 6 months or so, when a new expedition is coming up, we open downlink proposals. So if you're interested in that, check out our website, nasa.gov/SimOnStation, to learn more about how your educational institution, whether it's a museum or school, library, can apply for an in-flight education downlink. Next slide, please. So one of the other things that we've developed, and this has taken on many different names over the years, but currently we call it STEMonstrations. This name was born during the year of education on station when we had Educator astronauts Joe Acaba and Ricky Arnold in back-to-back missions celebrating a year of teachers in space. We have STEMonstrations, which are STEM demonstrations conducted aboard the International Space Station. We're happy to say that we've recently started including some elementary demonstrations and classroom connections in our portfolio, but we have over 14 different topics that you can choose from. And right now we're actually going to be filming a new topic here in the next 2 weeks aboard the space station. And we release those videos along with the lesson plans that teachers can use that align to national next generation STEM science standards. Next generation science standards, sorry, no STEM in there. We also have SPOCs, Live Long in Research, the Student Payload Opportunity with Citizen Science. So we are happy to say we've actually already selected our 5 universities that are flying these payloads to and from the space station, but the science is not over. The students are still conducting science, and they're doing citizen science outreach with subsets of K12 students, and that's ongoing leading up to their launches that are going to be happening starting this December. We have 3 schools launching, and then we'll conclude in April with 2 other schools that will be launching on the next SpaceX cargo mission next year. And then we also have some strategic partnerships that we're doing, one that we're currently working on with U.S. Forest Services, so stay tuned with that. We have Microsoft Hacking STEM lessons that we've developed and day of data efforts that we've done with them if you're in tuned with Microsoft Education. And then we have recently released or concluded a NASA TI codes contest that are currently in the stages of developing a new partnership with them, a new contest that will kind of coincide with the U.S. Forest Service partnership. So stay tuned for more information on that. And then, as I said earlier, we are going to be including some additional resources, some that are already out there at NASA, and we're just going to be, broadening our efforts and including those with our Earth mission-driven focus area, but we're also going to be developing some new opportunities and some new activities and resources that will coincide with Earth sciences and climate change. So please stay tuned for all of that. And like I said, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, but I will kick it back over to Carrie.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Earth orbit. As you said, space station is very near and dear to my heart. I've spent a lot of my career working space station in the science operations area at Marshall Space Flight Center. So something else that's really, really exciting in the agency, and this is a very big year for us, is we are looking forward to, at the end of November, early December, the launch of Artemis 1, which will be the first flight of the Space Launch System, huge launch vehicle, heavy lift launch vehicle with the Orion capsule on top. The first the mission will be uncrewed, so it's a test flight, but a lot of cool stuff going on as it travels to the moon and back. So the moon is a big deal this year, and so I'm going to let Dr. Dynae Fullwood tell us more about what's going on in relation to Artemis and moon exploration, and also we'll sneak peek into solar system and beyond.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am excited to come and tell you about what we're doing to support the Artemis program for K12 students and educators. It's sort of like, we have this huge responsibility to get the Artemis generation in tune, just sort of like how a lot of us can relate to the Apollo generation. And so it's really exciting to be a part of this. As Carrie said, the Artemis 1 mission is planned to occur in November, December timeframe, and we want to bring educators and students along with us as we ramp up that excitement. And so I'm going to talk to you about two of the things that we have set up specifically for educators, and then two things that are specifically for students, in order to first equip the educators, but then engage the students. So if we could go to the next slide, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Join Artemis website. Now, this is something that can be visited by anyone who is an informal educator, working with the press, working in the media, in the school districts, and even students. There are a lot of resources here. And of course, it's like we said, we want the K12 group, or the K12, what we call the Artemis generation, to get engaged with us. And so this is a good starting point where you can go and learn about the Artemis missions, the one that's coming up, and then the subsequent ones that will be continuing to test some of the integration systems, but then also to have the first woman and the first person of color to touch down on the moon. And so, like I said, it's just super excited. We've got things for you to decorate your space, ways that you can teach about Artemis, even some at-home stuff that you can do in the out-of-school time space, as well as information about the latest news. So the way to get to this website, there's a link there at the bottom for everybody who's interested, stem.nasa.gov/Artemis. This is something that we become accustomed to in putting together to support energy and raise awareness around our NASA missions. And so you'll hear more about what else we're doing in this space in terms of having a web presence for particular missions. Let's go to the next one. So if you are an educator and you just can't get enough from our Join Artemis website, then one other place that you can go is to look onto our, what we call a super search engine. And it has what we have developed here, the curriculum guides, especially if you want to have a more in-depth look at some of the systems that will be integrated in the Artemis 1 mission at the end of the year. So we take a very close look at Orion and also at the Space Launch System and Gateway in particular. These are activities that are packaged as 4 associated with each one of these systems. And these activities are targeted for middle school students. They are aligned to national education, national NGSS standards, as well as NCTM standards, ISES standards, ISD standards, and then also they kind of take students through the journey bit by bit with respect to with respect to understanding how these systems, what these systems are, and how they work together. And then the most recent one that we released just came out here this summer. It's called Landing Humans on the Moon. And these come along with demonstration videos. Everything from taking students through a mission to the moon where they're learning how to pack, all the way to creating a soft landing on the moon. There are activities, about 4 in that guide, that are really, really engaging. And my hope is that you guys will find the time to go and get that. One place that you can go to is our stem.nasa.gov website to stay abreast of all of these things. That's the first place you can start. The other thing, if we can go to the next slide, is we've got this new thing that we're doing with respect to this upcoming year or fiscal year starting in October for us. We've got an opportunity for challenges and competition students. This is targeting K12 students in the familiar grade bands. That's K5 through 6, K5, 6, 8, and then 9, 12. But we'd like for people who want to engage with this opportunity to think about it not in terms of grade bands first, but in terms of STEM identity and STEM capabilities. So look at participating in this kind of opportunity based on what you think you and your students can do. And then from there, we will have options that are grade level appropriate. It's a new way for us to approach creating STEM challenges and competitions for students. And as you can see, we have designed it such that we have 4 different levels. These levels are comprehensive and progressive. So obviously we chose names that kind of demonstrate that comprehension, all the way from our astronaut yet group to the astronaut candidate level, to the astronaut level, to the mission commander level, which obviously has the highest rigor and the highest order of thinking. So what's interesting about this is we expect to put out a solicitation for partners. And by we, I mean the Paragon Tech team that is helping us to implement this. Their website is there if you are so inclined to check out their website somewhere around that date, July the 26th, to see if you and your, your organization would be interested in partnering with us as we pilot this new construct. So we look forward to seeing some of the responses that we hear about from Paragon Tech. Okay, the next slide obviously has to do with, the mission itself. And so in addition to our challenges and competitions that we're planning for the fall and for the next school year, we are also wanting to just engage the general public and students, both in formal settings and informal settings alike, that want to follow the mission with us. And so we're putting November, December 21 because we don't know sometimes how the launch date, sometimes that slips. But just expect an 8-week mission to the moon with full engagement of newsletter copies and educational resources built into those copies, and some live events and some activities that you can do with your students, as well as some other types of student engagement. And so it's going to be really, really exciting. We're hoping that many, many people register for it. We have similar experience of doing something like this with the Mars 2020 Perseverance mission that was here earlier this year. And we were able to experience about 1 million people participating in that. And they were engaged over these several weeks. And our hope is that in these first 3 weeks, you'll get really pumped and excited. There'll be a lot of energy surrounding launch week. And then the subsequent weeks, we will tell you what's happening on the mission all the way to touchdown when the spacecrafts return to Earth. And so that is really exciting. We're just super excited about that. I've got 2 more things to tell you about. They are not necessarily moon. They are actually related to what Carrie alluded to, which is the solar system and beyond resources that we have. And so with that respect, I'd like to call your attention to the James Webb Space Telescope. Now, how many of you are aware that this is the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope? And it is going to be an orbiting infrared observatory that complements what we've learned and some of the discoveries from Hubble. And so from there, we just think it's a bigger, better camera. Well, telescope is, I don't mean to dismiss the integrity of its capabilities, but it has capabilities, enhanced capabilities than what we've observed from Hubble. And so we expect to be able to look further back in time as a result of using this telescope. And so what you can expect is this thing is currently in work. I don't have it a snapshot of the website yet, but we're putting together yet another mission-based toolkit, much like the one we described about Artemis and much like the one you're going to hear about in a second. This STEM toolkit has everything that you've heard. It's going to have information about the mission itself, ways for students at all grade levels to participate, some lesson plans, how to stay connected with us on social media, even some multimedia images and videos that you can use. And best of all, for those of you who are practicing teachers, things to print and post to make the coolest bulletin boards ever. Okay, next slide. And then last but not least, I did mention this and I talked to you about the success that we had with the Mars 2020 STEM Toolkit and the Mission to Mars activity that we had with the weeks leading up to the mission launch, and then the weeks after leading up to our first flight on the surface of Mars. And this is just a snapshot of what was there. You can see we were sharing how you can find out about students who got to name that mission, as well as some play and learns were in there, some opportunities to create the Mars rover, just a bunch of hands-on activities that are appealing to people who are coordinating what's happening in education spaces. And so with that said, I'd like to encourage you to go back to that website because everything is still there. Just a quick Google search of Mars 2020 Toolkit, and you can rinse and repeat all of those activities at your leisure. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. That's all I have for Moon to Mars and Solar System and beyond.
Thank you, Dynae. You'll notice a common word that keeps popping up, and that's excitement. And I've been at NASA since about 1987, so I'm old. I'm mostly in human spaceflight as an engineer and flight controller, but I don't remember a time when we've had so much going on in the agency. Everything from flying helicopters on Mars. And I bring that up because even though the big push for the Mars 2020 was around the landing of the rover, the first flights of the helicopter, that mission is ongoing and will be for a long time. I just saw some new footage the other day from the helicopter, which just, if you're not blown away by the fact that we're flying a helicopter in the very thin atmosphere of Mars, then I'm not sure you can be blown away, but it's just really exciting in so many ways. And going back to the moon with humans soon, and so much going on. One thing I will point out about the James Webb Space Telescope that I don't think Dynae said is this will be our first space telescope to join the likes of the Chandra X-ray telescope, the Hubble ultraviolet telescope, we've had the Compton gamma ray telescope. All of those were in various Earth orbits. The James Webb Space Telescope will be in solar orbit, and not just any solar orbit. It will be sitting at what they call the L2 Lagrange point. If you're an orbital mechanics geek, go look that up. But basically, it's an equilibrium point in the Earth, in the solar system, where it can sit way beyond the Earth's atmosphere and gravitational pull, and sit out there and see things that we've never seen before. So it's truly, truly groundbreaking. And we want to make sure that all this exciting stuff that NASA is doing really gets translated into the classroom, gets translated into at-home activities, gets translated into museums and science centers and libraries around the country, and that can really reach as many students as possible and help them see themselves in a future that can involve space exploration and exploration of flight in the atmosphere. And now, with that segue, I'll turn our attention back to Earth and back into the atmosphere, to aeronautics, because aeronautics is the shoulders on which we stand. That's how NASA cut its teeth with flight and then moved into space. And so going back to our roots, I'll turn it to Gina Blystone, talk about what's going on in aeronautics.
Thank you, Carrie. So I want to start out with this introductory slide. And I see now that you probably can't see that very well. I started with this introductory slide because I wanted to give you all my email address in case you needed to reach out to me with questions or requests. So I'm going to put that in the chat at the end of the presentation, because I realize now that font was not the best color choice. So if you can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to give you all a brief background on aeronautics, because I'm not quite sure that everybody understands or realizes, rather, that aeronautics is, in fact, the foundation of NASA. Aeronautics is the first A in NASA. And if anybody's familiar with the Wright brothers, you will realize that that's kind of how NASA got its start back when it was NACA. And many of you might be huge NASA fans. The biggest of NASA fans will know about NACA and the history of NASA and the connection with the Wright brothers. And we won't go into detail with that right now because we don't have the time. But if we had the time, I could just roll with that for a good 30 minutes. However, I wanted to let you know that NASA Aeronautics is, the backbone, like Carrie mentioned, the backbone of NASA. And if we couldn't fly in Earth's atmosphere, we certainly couldn't do it in space. So it is really important that we teach flight, the future of flight. And it's important that we know that every U.S. commercial airplane, every U.S. air traffic control tower has NASA developed technology on board. So that is crucial information. NASA leads the way when it comes to air traffic control, any type of aeronautics. NASA is at the helm there. So when we look at what NASA focuses on with respect to aeronautics, there's one common thread: sustainability, sustainable aviation. And the current three foci, if I can say that word, I don't know, I'll look for any opportunity to use that, right? That's kind of like any word you can pluralize with an I. We want to talk about the X59, the X57, and AAM, or electric propulsion. And the X57 really ties in with electric propulsion, so we'll save that for the last. If you can go to the next slide, please. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the X59 at this point. It's been around for a little bit. The concept has been around. It's currently being built. But the X59, or the Quest, the Quiet Supersonic Technology aircraft, is being developed in the hopes to reduce the sonic boom so that it can fly at supersonic speeds over land. Currently, you cannot fly at supersonic speeds over land because of the sonic boom. And so NASA's technology is working on reducing that sonic boom to a sonic thump in hopes that the FAA will allow us to fly supersonic over land. What does this mean for you? It means reduced flight times, drastically reduced flight times. And what does this mean for your students? This means a lot of new technology, a lot of physics that you can incorporate into your classrooms. I'm going to get to a slide here at the end that will give you a lot of resources. There are 2 links here that will do the same thing. There are a lot of resources that talk about what is flight, the 4 forces of flight, and we teach all of that content through the context of the X59 Quest. And I'll get to those resources in just a moment. The next slide, please. The X57 Maxwell is extremely awesome in the fact that this is an experimental aircraft that is a modification of an existing aircraft. So the existing aircraft is and I'm going to give you the technical name. Hopefully nobody here knows about this, because if you already know this aircraft, then you're way more knowledgeable than I am about my own field of expertise here. It is the Tecnam P2006T aircraft, and it's been modified. And what's really awesome about this is that this is an electric propulsion aircraft. So it's again, we go back to the theme of sustainable aviation. And what we're attempting to do here is lead the way in the technological breakthroughs of electric propulsion. And I mentioned earlier that we were going to see electric propulsion not only in passenger aircraft, but we were going to see it in AAM, or advanced air mobility. And we'll get into that next. But what's really amazing about this is that this is an all-electric aircraft, an all-electric passenger aircraft. And a lot of our X-planes in the past they've been models. They've not been full-scale passenger aircrafts. And we're getting back to that with the X59 and the X57. So that's really, really amazing and really cool to look at when you look at the history of the X-planes. So our goal here is basically just to prove that that we can do energy efficient cruising at altitudes capable for flight. When you look at the next thing, we're going to talk about AAM, or drones. Next slide, please. Everybody's heard of drones, right? Most of you guys probably have a drone that you purchased from Amazon or Target. You guys probably had fun flying them. They're amazing, amazing pieces of equipment to have in your STEM classrooms. You can learn so much from unmanned aerial systems or unmanned aerial vehicles. When we talk about AAM, or advanced air mobility, we're talking about electric propulsion. And we're talking about the same technology that is flying the X57 Maxwell. And the X57 Maxwell is run off of that 460 volt battery with 14 electric motors and 42% of its original wingspan. That in itself is pretty amazing. And it can hold passengers, theoretically. Well, we look at drones, or UAS, UAV. UAV is the actual vehicle. UAS is the vehicle being piloted by either a computer system or a human pilot by remote control, obviously, not by a human pilot in the vehicle. And it opens up a whole new world. Think about the recent pandemic that we've been in, and we can think about the uses, the positive benefits of having these UAS flying around. We could deliver vaccines, we could deliver groceries, etc., to elderly individuals or immunocompromised folks who can't leave their houses. So there are a lot of positive benefits to having these UAS in the airspace. However, what happens when you have regular aircraft and a UAS controlled by whoever? It becomes an issue of having, a 14-year-old driving a car and a licensed, 40-year-old responsible individual driving a car. There's a shared airspace there. And then not only that, but you've got buildings in the way. You've got trees in the way. How are we going to navigate all of these things? And that's where advanced air mobility comes into play. So all of these things, and not to mention, advanced air mobility is the next up-and-coming career field, if you will. And NASA wants to get out and in front of that. And we want to make sure that we are providing the right types of technology to lead the way for this new field of expertise, I guess you could say. I don't have a good word for that. Next slide, please. So now this slide, and I apologize for all of the information in this slide, and we will make this available to folks who need it afterwards. We have a lot of resources here. If you look at this first website, this first link here, the Next Gen STEM Aeronaut-X website, this is where you can get started. The Aeronaut-X website has a lot of hands-on classroom activities that teach you the foundations of the forces of flight, walks you through the technology behind the X59 and how the X59 plans to reduce the sonic boom. We have several videos that go along with the activities, instructional videos that go along with the activities, as well as a citizen science guide that allows you to collect some data that provides real-world data to the Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate. In addition, we have some activities coming out that hopefully will be available the end of September, 1st of October, surrounding electric propulsion. And they will feature both the X57 and AAM. So stay tuned for those. The rest of these resources are also hands-on activities created by the Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate. And if you go to the last slide, please. This is probably the most important, in all honesty. This is a Facebook page that we have created for educators. We invite you to join. It is a really fun group of educators. We share resources. We have some open conversations just about what to put it, how to incorporate lessons into your classrooms, all kinds of great things. Lots of resources shared. So please feel free to join that Facebook page, if you will. And that's it. So thank you, Carrie. I appreciate the time today.
Well, I'm not quite done with you yet, because while you're speaking of educators, could you tell us a little bit about our educator professional development offerings that we have?
Absolutely. So we have what we call NASA's STEM and Educator Development Collaborative, which is a cooperative agreement that we have with Texas State University. This is an amazing cooperative agreement. This group of specialists, we have educator specialists, educator professional specialists at each center. And essentially what these individuals do is they offer PD that is it's based on our NASA unique activities. So they train educators on our NASA unique activities. And in addition to that, they help the educators build their STEM identity. And I think those are the two most important things. They also offer some digital badges that educators can kind of go through on their own at their own time and earn professional development credit, continuing education units for as well. But what really stands out to me about this cooperative agreement is the webinars that they offer that allows the educators to learn the activities that we're talking about on these websites, as well as just the overall ability for this cooperative agreement to build that STEM identity within educators. So if there are any educators who are just feeling uncertain about what they can do in the classroom, flip to the next slide, please. Go to this website and see what they have. They have webinars offered weekly. They have digital badges. And you can reach out, you can really build a connection with these education specialists and build a relationship with them. And they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Gina. So I think that we've come to the end of what we wanted to share with you. And if you've got a last chart, yeah, thank you. I forgot to plug this earlier, but there is a thing called the NASA Express if you're not already familiar. And you can go to nasa.gov/STEM/Express and sign up for that newsletter. It comes once a week, and it's just chock full of everything that's going on, not just from the Office of STEM Engagement, but across NASA in the STEM engagement realm. I know that we have thrown a lot of URLs at you and things during this presentation, and I believe that information will be made available to you. But also, in my one last shameless plug, Another thing the Next Gen STEM project is working on is the creation of and standing up a new educator community of practice in a highly capable Salesforce platform, and we are developing it now, and we will be looking to beta test it or I guess pilot it in the fall, and then make it more widely available after that. And it's for formal educators, informal educators, everyone. So that is something that we are working on to kind of actually help with this problem of we have so much to offer and in so many different websites and so many different places, and trying to bring together a community of practice where people can come to one location and kind of find the latest and greatest, talk with other educators, trade notes and best practices, interact with us. Tell us what you'd love for us to bring to you in the future, that sort of thing. So be looking for that. Like I said, it is literally in development with right now. So I don't have anything to show you yet, but it will be coming. And that is all we have for you today. I think, I'm not sure how this works. Are we answering questions or?
Great. I'm back here with you. So I just wanted to thank the amazing NASA team. And it's so great because to hear all of the resources, and I know it can be overwhelming for educators, but I love the fact of how it's starting to become more consolidated, and it just seems like a much easier stream of access there. So, Susan, I want to thank you for helping to organize this, as well as Mike Kincaid. And it's always an absolute pleasure. So get ready, because we're going to take off next year. We're going to be back in person in Orlando, Florida. So put it on the calendars, July 11th to the 15th. Yay. And again, I want to encourage everyone to please sign up for the NASA Express newsletter. It always has a ton of information, but there's full of resources there. So take advantage of all of that. All right.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you, everyone. All right, we're now going to hop over to Chip Heath's session, where it's new book, Making Numbers Count, a must-read for all educators. All right, we'll see you over there.